In September of 2006, investigative reporter Bethany Morris interviewed a man wanted by police in connection with several nationwide kidnappings. The interview never aired until now.
My name is Bethany Morris, and this is my story. Hello, my name is Bethany Morris. Welcome to another installment of You Be the Judge. We're standing here in front of this ordinary-looking house to show you something not so ordinary inside. We're about to meet a man.
I'm talking to you.
That's him. Let's get this. Keep up.
Is that thing on? What are you doing? We had an agreement that it would just be the two of us.
It's okay. We're just filming the intro.
Turn it off. Turn it off. Turn it off. You're not going to put that microphone on me.
Let's go with the boom.
Is that thing on?
Yes. We're ready to start.
All right, let's start. 3, 2, we're rolling.
What is your name?
You can call me John.
Okay, John. Why do you want to do this interview?
I want to clear my name, so to speak.
What do you mean?
The police are saying I'm a criminal.
What John is referring to is his unusual vocation, that of a ransom note writer. You write ransom notes. Aren't you breaking the law?
How am I breaking the law? I write letters to people.
Letters asking people for money in exchange for something taken from them. That sounds like blackmail to me.
I didn't take anything from them.
What John is claiming is he is just the messenger, a middleman in a number of kidnapping cases around the nation.
Look, the police are saying that whoever is writing these letters must be the kidnapper. First of all, I'm not the kidnapper.
How do we know this?
Do I look like a kidnapper? I am an artist.
I wondered what John meant by he's an artist. After all, doesn't he just write people letters, as he proclaimed? After a bit of convincing, we got John to explain. You call yourself an artist. Why not a writer, since you just write letters?
I don't just write letters. Any hack can do that. I create art. My letters are not just what's written on them, they're also quite attractive. Not only are they just words, but they're pieces of art.
But why ransom notes?
I like to think of them as little reminders. I've got something you want.
Okay. How did you get started?
I started in college when the football team wanted to steal the opposing team's mascot before the big homecoming game. So they hired me.
Why you?
Because I'm an artist.
I still don't understand.
I tutored the football team. But this paid more.
Since when did grammar get elevated to the level of art?
Give me a minute. Michelangelo didn't paint the Sistine Chapel in a day. First, I wrote a letter for the team's mascot. Second, for the Pi Kappa keg tag. And then, I put an ad in the local shopping circular for negotiation, communication. And the phone calls started.
When was that?
About 10 years ago. I began handwriting the letters because I thought it was more personal. And then I thought about those CSI guys being able to trace my handwriting. So I decided to take a calligraphy class at our local junior college. I began writing the letters in Lucinda black letter font. They looked classy. The problem was, they started to look like wedding invitations. So then I remembered this episode of Columbo I had seen one night, where the kidnapper had a typewriter that had a J that was just off register a little bit. I thought, I could do that. So I went to a local garage sale, found an old manual Underwood typewriter, and bent the keys a little bit. I thought, that could be my signature. The problem was, it kept jamming up on me. I lost a lot of business because of that. So then I decided to go to the computer and WordPerfect. Nothing to trace, and no keys to jam up. The problem with that was, it was too impersonal. Nothing unique. Then I remembered this movie where a kidnapper used to cut words out of magazines and take the little letters and put together his ransom note. I remember making collages as a kid and thought, I could do that. So I began cutting up words and letters out of magazines and newspapers. And I've been doing it that way ever since.
Well, in my research on the internet, I discovered some sites that will teach me how to write my own ransom notes. There are some that will even do it automatically for me. Have you ever used one of those sites?
No. No vendors. I do everything myself. Using vendors could leave a trail back to me.
But aren't you leaving a vendor trail back to your clients?
I don't even know who my clients are. All I get is a phone call and a message.
Well, instead of calling you, why don't the kidnappers just call the victim themselves?
That's too impersonal.
Or maybe they're trying to distance themselves from the crime, leave you holding the bag, so to speak, so they don't get caught.
No, it goes back to my art. My collages are wonderful. My clients want to present their demands in a beautiful and artistic way.
Aren't your clients really just thinking about the money? Isn't that why they're kidnapping in the first place?
You know, Beth, it isn't just about the money. Sometimes people just want to be heard, and my collages give them that voice. That's what makes them so unique, one of a kind. I tailor my collages to what my client is trying to say.
You mean demand.
That's 6 of one, half dozen of another.
Since they are one of a kind, can't your collages be traced back to you?
No, I'm very careful. I make my own glue. I cut words and letters out of old out-of-print magazines and newspapers. I particularly like the foreign ones. They have better fonts. I always wear gloves, and I use envelopes and stamps that are self-sealing. Can't lick because of DNA. Would you like to see? Writing a ransom note is not as easy as you might think. There are 3 main steps that you have to...
understand you.
Writing a ransom note is not as easy as you might think. There are 3 main steps to follow. First, what's been taken. Second, what demands have to be met in order to get it back. And then third, what will happen in case those steps are not met. I believe that the best way to communicate these points is to be direct, short and to the point. That ensures that there'll be no confusion. You don't want any mistakes. That's why I never use codes. People can never figure them out anyway. What I write and how I write depends on a few things. What's been taken, what's the ransom, and who's the audience.
Audience? Don't you mean victim?
No, I mean audience. You have to write to your audience. Communication is the key. If you don't have communication, then nobody wins. And then finally, presentation, presentation, presentation. What's written on the note is just a small part. But how the note looks, that determines the tone.
Tone. How can it be anything but horrifying?
I can't control the audience's reaction. I can control the note's intent. Tone is very important. I base it on whether or not the demands are going to be met. I do this through the use of color, design, and overall impact. First, I start with the basics. Paper stock. The color and the texture help set the mood.
Do you have a favorite?
No, just that it be heavy. It's going to be handled by a number of different people. Police, FBI. You want to make sure that it stays intact and serves its purpose. As far as the lettering goes, it's important to look at color and font as well. You don't want the letters to blend into the background. You want them to jump off the page. It's also important that your note is easy to read. You don't want them mistaking any zeros. The design and overall look of your final copy are important. You want them to take you seriously and think that you're a professional. Once you've made a few, then you can come up with your own design or your own trademark.
What are yours?
I like themes. I wrote a note recently that was going to be delivered to a birthday party, and I put confetti inside of it, and then each of the letters I placed on top of little balloons. Now, I don't suggest that you do this until you have a good client base, but I do enjoy spicing them up a bit. Here's one I've been working on. Careful! You don't want to get your fingerprints on it. The police will think you're me.
Oh, this is gorgeous. You're right. You're an artist. These could be in a gallery.
I am an artist, but the police are saying I'm a criminal. I want the public to know.
But if you keep doing these little reminders, they're never going to be in a gallery. They'll always have to be kept secret, and you could go to jail. Doesn't that bother you?
I don't make money by these being in a gallery. I make money from my clients. They are the only ones who truly appreciate my art.
You can call it what you want. The police think otherwise.
It's really hard making a living in this line of work.
As a criminal?
As an artist. The police are saying I'm a criminal. It's bad for business. Nobody wants to hire a criminal.
Well, I'm sure those internet sites aren't helping. Why should I hire you when I can go on the internet and do it myself for free?
You get what you pay for. If you want to buy something generic off the internet.
Not all those sites are so generic. As a matter of fact, I found one recipe on a ransom note site that was actually quite similar to yours. Could this in fact be your recipe?
If you're saying that this is mine, you are dead wrong. I would never do anything like this. I would never sell myself out. Besides, I'd be competing with myself.
But you did in fact show us how you make your ransom notes. Someone watching this could do it for themselves. They wouldn't even need the internet.
Oh, could they? I could teach you how to paint, but does that mean that you could paint the Mona Lisa? You get what you pay for. I've been doing this a long time, and I have quite a collection. Would you like to see my trophy room? What you're about to see, no one else has ever seen before.
Are these your trophies?
Hey, that's not supposed to be there. Please, after you. Hey, is that thing on? Turn it off! Turn it off! As you can see, competition doesn't scare me. Please don't touch.
What about going to jail? Doesn't that scare you?
No. What scares me is this economy. I can't afford to lose any more clients. I need as much work as I can get. I'm a small business. I have a lot of overhead. Foreign magazine subscriptions aren't cheap. You know, up until a year ago, I was at the top of my game. I was writing ransoms for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I once wrote one for $1 million.
What was that for?
I can't be specific, but it was for a very important cell phone. Now with this economy, people just aren't paying the high ransoms. My last job was for $5,000. These over here, I only make 10% on.
Well, if you're worried about business, why not change your line of work?
I-
I could see you doing greeting cards or those church signs. You know, forbidden fruits create many jams, or soul food served here.
That's like asking a leopard to change his spots.
You could call it signs from God or heavenly hints.
But I like what I do. I always wanted to be an artist. But I needed to make a living. This allows me to do both.
We have just spent time with John, a man whom police believe to be a criminal. And yet we must ask ourselves, is writing ransom notes really a crime? We've spent time with a man who considers himself not a criminal, but an artist. And yet, are qualities like passion, creativity, perfection no longer important? And we have spent time with a man quite possibly on the verge of losing his business. Do we really want to add to the growing ranks of the unemployed? Is what John does reprehensible? Yes. But isn't it also reprehensible that the only element of society willing to pay him for his artistry, the criminal one? Who is the real victim here? The letter reader or the letter writer? You be the judge.
Is that thing on?
John, it's okay.
Turn it off.
No,
Turn it
John,
off. Turn
calm
it off.
down. Within a month of my broadcast, several private art buyers contacted John with offers to buy his ransom notes. A small collection is currently on display at the Tate Gallery in London. In December of 2006, I was arrested on a kidnapping conspiracy charge.
That doesn't make any sense. Why would they arrest you?
What they said was, because I wouldn't give them John as my source, I was an accessory.
It sounds to me like someone is trying to make an example of you.
My trial starts next month. So while John is out there becoming the artist he's always wanted to be, I'm stuck in here! Talking to you.
Since my interview with Bethany Morris, John has started a third-party application company for smartphones that has been estimated at over $10.5 million in sales so far this year. His biggest selling app is called Ransom Writer. It has been sold for entertainment purposes only. Bethany Morris was found guilty and is currently serving a 10-year sentence without possibility of parole. Is our system of justice really fair? On the one hand, you have a reporter standing up for freedom of the press, and on the other, you have a man profiting from his crimes. Who is the real criminal here? The man behind the beard or the woman behind the bars? You be the judge.
But aren't you, in fact, helping criminals extort ransom from innocent people?
That's between my clients and their customers. I'm just trying to make their bad news a little brighter.